just say that you're studying and you've done these things, and sometimes your special skills will help you get into the door of an agent. So if you have a special skill, you know, fire eater, whatever the thing is, a juggler, a cheerleader, a good swimmer, sometimes sports will really help you get into that particular agent because they're looking for somebody who has a special skill, a dancer or a singer, somebody with a really good voice. Now that all these shows are popular with, you know, triple threat. You guys know what a triple threat is? Okay, great. So a lot of times those criteria will really help you get into an agency. If you want to get a manager before you get an agent, that's also something good, but you have to make sure that that manager knows what they're doing, they've been in business, and if they have a license, that's even better. But the agent that you're going to look for, you're always going to make sure that they have a business license and that it's licensed by the state of California. You can always look them up on Google nowadays, or you can also find them through the website for the state of California. They list those things. You can find me there, and you can find out that I have a license and that there's no bad marks there. An agent should never charge you any money up front. You should never pay a manager money up front either. It's always a percentage based on your work. If it's a legitimate agent with the state of California and it's acting, it's 10%. If it's print, sometimes that's 15 or 20%. You have to make sure that you understand those things ahead of time. And make sure that the agent is licensed. It's really, really important. You don't pay an agent any upfront fees. That's just not the way it works. Or a manager. And be careful with managers. Sometimes you have to check them out and make sure that they have a good reputation. But, you know, there's a lot of good people out there. When do you know you're ready? When you have the resume, when you know that you're comfortable and confident to go in front of an, to perform. Remember, they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on the investment of a commercial or a movie or whatever the project is. They're going to want somebody not to be able to, sort of poop their pants. People do. It's really, really a hard business, you guys. And in front of people, in the duress in there, it's like, I'm going to put you guys to act over here, and if you want the whole audience here, fine. You have to work under that duress. Or a lot of times understand what the language of that particular business, There are certain key elements in this business that we use, certain buzzwords. You need to know what those buzzwords are so that you really understand the director. You're going to work with very temperamental people. Don't take it personal. Sometimes they're under duress. Doesn't mean anything against you or anything like that. You just have to be able to take that on. When you're ready also is when you have a work permit, okay? For children under the age of 18, the state of California requires you to have a work permit from the state of California. Your school has to give you this permission. You bring the piece of paper to your school. You can download it from the websites from the state of California, and you can take that work permit application to your school. Your principal, counselor, whoever's in charge will sign that. That doesn't mean that's your work permit. You have to send that into the city or the state, and then they send you one back with a stamped logo. That's your original copy. You need to keep that, parents, for your child, so that when you show up on work, or wherever it's needed, you show them that work permit. Okay? That expires every 6 months. So you need to make sure that you keep track of that. If you have a C-, or lower than a C- in anything in school, you won't get that work permit. So you have to make sure that that stays steady, because if you don't have that, you have to let your agent know that particular 6 months you didn't get one for whatever reason, so that they don't submit you on jobs and then you can't get the job. It's really important that you stay intact. Doesn't mean you have to stop acting if you have a bad grade. Just get it together, get the grade up, and continue acting. Don't stop your classes, don't stop anything else. Continue acting. It just means that you're behind your school level. Get it to par so that it's there, so that it's important that you do that. Okay? I work with kids, sometimes they don't get the work permit for whatever reason, then they stop communication because they're embarrassed about it. That's a shame. No, it's not. It's just, you're just behind your academics. Get it to par to where it needs to be. Then kids need a Coogan account. Once you get a job, I recommend you get a Coogan account until you get the job. But it all depends on your permission from that agent. Yes, sir?
the permit actually says you have to have a Coogan account attached to it within 10 days.
Okay, so then that's a new requirement. So there you go. Okay, just remember that if you don't ever get a job, that Coogan account stays there till you're 18. So it's up to the parent to keep track of that Coogan account. So it doesn't go dormant, and then the bank sends it to the state of California, and guess who gets to keep the money? The state. So make sure that you keep track of that, or keep using, invest $10 every now and then, and use that account for a college fund for the children. You know, but a lot of times that's what the banks don't, that's why a lot of other banks don't offer them, because they are a hassle to handle those Coogan accounts, because people forget about them. Let's see. Availability, it's really important that you guys are available, okay? If you go get an agent, it's because you're ready to work. Don't just go get an agent because you feel that you want an agent. An agent is when you're ready to work. Sometimes you have to take acting classes for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Maybe you're not ready, but wait till that time when you're really ready to go get that agent, so that the agent takes you serious. Otherwise, it's really hard to get an agent. So a lot of times you have to be ready. What does that mean? If you're a child, you have to have a chaperone. That means a parent, a guardian, somebody that's going to be with you 24/7 at that job if you do book a job. Sometimes parents can't get time off from work. You guys live far from LA. That means you have to get on the 15, take the 26 to the 52, to the 5, to the Santa Monica Freeway, to the blah, 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 blah. It's better if you get a plane or a helicopter, okay? But because you have to take all these different freeways to get to your audition, guess what? Take a nap in the car, whatever it is, take a banana, some water, all of that, then have your parents wake you up, slap you a couple of times, get you going, and then you're quite an alert and walk into the audition. Don't walk into the audition all like, I was in the car. I don't know why my mom brought me here. You know, it's like, they'll never see you again. That's a bad attitude. Attitude is everything in this business. We all have emotions and feelings, believe me. So a lot of times you just feel really yucky and everything. Don't snap out of it. Learn those exercises that you learn in class to shake it up and use your energy and all of that other stuff because of the drive. Believe me, the drive is very excruciating, especially during the week. But don't be afraid of it. Do it anyway, because that's what you want to do. So get to the place on time. Yes, Karen?
I was just going to say, when we would have auditions or filming, we would always get there an hour and a half before so that she could wake up and get some energy, eat something, whatever. But it's helpful.
It's really helpful.
Yeah.
I had a kid one time, the casting director called me and they said, you know, this little girl was a mess and she was just attitude and blah, blah, blah. And it's like the agent doesn't want to get that report from you, you know, on you. So it's really important. What availability also means is that you have to always have those paperwork in order as well as your passport. We all are looked upon as foreigners nowadays. There's nothing wrong with that. We all come from different countries. A lot of people are here first generation, whatever the case is. That doesn't matter. What matters is you have a valid passport and a parent has a valid passport. Why? Because business is done everywhere. Everywhere. I have a kid going to England at the end of the month. He went to England last year. They were doing reshoots on a really good film with, you guys are going to love this, because Karen told me to share some stuff with my kids,
Yes.
and that just brought up that point. He's shooting a movie called World War Z. Has anybody heard of that? World War Z?
World War Z.
What is it?
World War Z.
Brad Pitt.
Cool.
It's Brad Pitt's new movie.
And you've got a client in it.
It's a movie about the zombies. And they're doing this film, and they actually shot it last year, but the studio thought that the last quarter of the movie needed some help, so they had already spent $200 million on the movie, and they're doing reshoots in England between the end of the month, November, and part of December. So that parent's going to have to go there with that kid again. They did that same thing last year, and they were there for 3 months.
Awesome.
So can you go someplace like that for 3 months? Or if you invest this and you go all the way to the audition and the callback and they tell you that you got the job and then the mom and dad or somebody says, I can't really do that, you're not only going to let down your child, but your agent, their manager, whoever you get to work with, and production. Brad Pitt's going to be, what do you mean you can't do this? Do you know who I am? Do you know my kids? Do you know my wife? What do you think? You know? Yes.
And we've got great people in this room, and they're all aware of that, and they're ready to rock and roll
Isn't
with
that
that.
great?
Yep. Yes,
So
they know.
So those are the things,
Things
you
that
guys.
teach,
I
yep.
mean, things can fall in your lap that you never expected in this business. One of my teachers always said, you need to be ready because you're always one day away from $100,000 in this business. And I